Hi guys, welcome to my homemade face mask tutorial. This tutorial doesn't require a sewing machine, but if you have a sewing machine you can follow the same steps and stitch it on your machine at home instead of doing it by hand. I've made a couple of masks already, and since it's a fabric mask, it's important that you wash it in warm or boiling water after using it. Of course, you should avoid using it for long hours, and you should make sure that you're wearing your gloves when you want to remove it from your face. So let's start. You will need to print out the face mask pattern available on the blog, some fabric scissors, paper scissors, a pencil, some thread, a safety pin, a needle, some pins, some elastic around 60-70 centimeter in length, and soft cotton canvas approximately a 40 by 40 centimeter square. If you don't have any fabric, you can upcycle an old kitchen towel or some bedsheet or pillow cover. Basically any cotton fabric except the jersey fabric, which is the fabric used for t-shirts. Before you start cutting, you have to make sure that your printer scale is right, and to do that you can measure the line on the bottom of your sheet and make sure it measures 5 centimeters. So the first step is to cut the pattern of your A4 sheet by cutting along the cutting line, which is the line that has the scissor symbol. Now we're going to fold our fabric in two and pin our pattern paper between the dashed line and the edges of our pattern paper. If our fabric is too thick, we can trace around our paper instead of pinning it using our pencil. And now we can proceed to cutting our fabric. We remove the pins and we proceed again to repeat the same operation so that we can have 4 identical pieces of fabric cut in the shape of our face mask. Now you can start by threading your needle and put it aside. You take one of the 4 pieces and you trace the sewing line using the pencil. The sewing line is 1 centimeter away from the edge, just like it's drawn on your paper pattern. Now you take that piece and you pin it with another one. Now you can start sewing. You just need to follow the sewing line and make simple running stitches all the way through. Make sure to smooth any bump, especially if your thread is too tight. Then you clip the extra seam allowance and you make sure to leave at least 3-4 millimeters. Then you flip it out and you make sure that there is no bump or pleat and that the seam line looks rather nice. You take your needle again and you're going to add a new line of stitches, which are called top stitches. So with your fingers you hold the seam allowances that are at the back to one side, and on the front side you make your stitches 2 millimeters away from the seam line on that same side. Basically you're sewing 3 layers together, and this will add extra strength to make sure that the mask doesn't rip. If you're using a sewing machine, you don't need to make those extra stitches because the seam would be stronger. You prepare the second half of the mask using the 2 pieces left, and now you can assemble them together. You start by placing the 2 pieces on top of each other, front side against front side, then you pin them together, making sure they are well aligned. Then you can start sewing all the way through with simple running stitches. You move on to the other side. You take your scissors, and on the curvy side you're going to make little clips into the seam allowance. These clips are called notches and they prevent any puckering. For the other side you can simply cut in a straight line. Just make sure that you're leaving 3-4 mm of seam allowance. You flip your mask inside out. You make sure that there's no pleat or puckering, and you can go iron it a little bit before continuing the next steps. Just like we did some top stitching for the middle part of our mask, we're gonna do top stitching for the upper edge and the lower edge to make sure that our seams are strong. Referring back to our paper pattern, we noticed that the small side has a seam allowance of 2 cm, so we go on and trace again a line with our pencil 2 cm away from the edge. This line will allow us to measure how much fabric we want to fold in to finish off all the edges of our mask. We clean up our edges by clipping any loose thread from the fabric. Now we take our edge and we fold it twice. A first fold of 0.5 cm and a second fold of 1.5 cm. Or we can make 2 folds of 1 cm. It's important that we fold in not more than 2 cm so that the face mask size is kept. We move on to sewing those edges using simple whip stitches. Finally, we reach the final step of stringing the mask, and for that you need to attach the safety pin to the elastic and insert it into the folds. You have a couple of choices. Either you cut your elastic in half so that you have the elastic sitting behind your ears, or you leave it in one piece and it would sit behind your head. You can do whatever feels more comfortable. You can try both options and see. And also you can switch to a regular ribbon if you feel that the elastic is too tight or too harsh on your skin. That's it guys, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I hope everything is clear. I look forward to seeing your masks, so feel free to tag me on your stories or your post on Instagram. Bye bye!